Thank you for tuning in as we introduce you to the 2018-2019 national officers. I want to reintroduce, of course, Jim Postl, the chairman of our board, as he gets ready for his second year as chairman, and Dr. Ivor Benjamin, who will become the president of the American Heart Association on July 1st. And Ivor, I'd love to start with you. Tell us a little about your background.
Happy to do that, Nancy. Well, I am Ivor Benjamin, of course, the director of the Cardiovascular Center and a professor of medicine at the Medical College of Wisconsin in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Like most AHA volunteers, I'm a physician scientist who received this first grant from the American Heart Association. And over that time, I've now been able to lead an organization in the Cardiovascular Center where our mission is committed to improving cardiovascular health. We think that we need to be able to execute that mission through being able to do first-rate and cutting-edge research. We're committed to training the next generation of leaders, and we think that that combination will provide those leaders to be effective in reducing cardiovascular disparities in all communities. I am married, my wife Carol, for 30 years. We are the proud parents of 3 children.
I know your family is so proud of you, just like we are, Ivor, at the AHA, for all of the tremendous accomplishments you've had throughout your many years as a volunteer. And we were reminiscing earlier, the very first time I met you was in the early 2000s when you were coming up the ladder to become chair of the Scientific Publishing Committee. I know you've also chaired the research committee for the AHA during a time of tremendous change for the positive for the association's research program. Reflect a little on those roles that you've had as a volunteer. You know, when you were back in the early 2000s and beyond, did you ever think you'd be president? And you know, what were those moments like for you?
I got my first grant for the American Heart Association. It launched my career. But what that then meant was a defining moment where I wanted to give something back. And what happens always in these situations, you get engaged, you get involved, but you then begin to actually get much more out of it than you're actually giving. And that's really the secret sauce of the American Heart Association.
Well said, Ivor. And you know, Jim, you are finishing your first year of a 2-year term as chairman, and certainly, as Ivor just said, volunteers are the foundation of the organization. What reflections do you have after your first year of service, and what are your priorities for this next year?
Well, let me tell you, I've been very fortunate to work with some extraordinarily innovative companies, Procter & Gamble, PepsiCo, Nabisco, and Pennzoil. But the level of innovation that's going on at the American Heart Association is at least the equal of anything that I experienced in those companies. So it's a very exciting time to be part of the American Heart Association. It's a very exciting time to be in a leadership role. We have introduced a new financial model. We've introduced a new operating model, and being involved in the development of those was a tremendous experience. And I've had the opportunity to roll it out to the affiliate boards in last year, which has been a tremendous experience. John Werner and I had a great time together. It's our second rodeo, if you will.
That's right, because you served together in the affiliate as well.
That's right. So I think we finally got it right. But we've had a great time. And it was a wonderful opportunity to get to know the affiliate boards, and we got a very positive response.
One of the things that I always marvel at about you, Jim, one of many things, because your business leadership and advice to the association has made us a better organization. What opportunities do we have to be even greater in our communities?
Well, I think the level of engagement that we are generating with our boards has really gone up. The kinds of people that we are recruiting to the boards, CEOs, leaders in the community, really have the ability to impact the mission as well as our revenue. And I think that speaks to the level of engagement that's taking place at the local level.
And it's a wonderful combination of our local volunteers and national volunteers that have brought many of these gifts together. Ivor, you were core and central to the large gift that we just announced from the Paul Allen Foundation. Why do you think the Paul Allen Foundation and Paul Allen himself felt that level of confidence in the AHA?
And what a phenomenal experience. So here is a group that's emerging out of corporate America, but they then chose to invest with the American Heart Association to really be able to identify the best and brightest And I think that it really is a fantastic opportunity. We can talk more about what the Allen Brain Initiative will do.
Yes, it's a wonderful opportunity for the AHA's positioning in brain health, which really gets me to where we are today and where we're going in the future. And I'd love to ask both of you, Jim, starting with you, what's on the horizon for this upcoming fiscal year? What are your priorities and what do you hope we will have accomplished by the time the year ends?
Well, as a business guy, I always think about the top line. And so I very much hope and expect that we'll cross the $1 billion level for the very first time. And that's important from a number of standpoints. It means that we will increasingly be able to pursue our mission. I'm really looking forward to a year with King Ivor here. And, we've introduced a number of new initiatives. I mentioned the new financial model, the new operating model. This will be the first year where we will be actively in pursuing those models. And so it'll be interesting to see how they are performing. Are there tweaks that we need to make? What are we learning? Also, to get some of these initiatives that we talked about, these strategic opportunities, get them underway. I think that's very exciting as well.
Yeah, it's good. And, the expertise that you and our other business leaders bring to help the AHA as we really expand the traditional way we've done business as a philanthropy and continue to grow that while we're expanding in these new ways of getting the mission accomplished helps us, gives us the confidence that we can really do this in the marketplace.
Well, it's interesting. As I talk to the affiliates, I would, point to the traditional AHA and the things that we did. And if you go back 5 or 6 years ago, that's what the AHA was. And then we have built these increasingly successful commercial businesses like ECC and hospital certification and so on. Now we are adding all of these wonderful strategic opportunities, working with people, like Google, like Microsoft, like Apple, Amazon. This is not your older brother or older sister's AHA any longer.
That's right. And, this opportunity to really make an impact at the intersection of science and technology, Ivor, as I know something that you're really excited about. What do you hope 2018-19 will bring?
I would say that there are two areas that I think the AHA is particularly well poised for really being able to leverage in the upcoming year. We mentioned really being able to cross that billion mark.
Yes.
Now, as a scientist and as a researcher, we know the bigger we grow that pie,
yes,
the bigger there will be opportunities for us to really have all those junior investigators and really being able to fund the innovative research that we know our community really is critically important. But what I also say is that cardiovascular disease is a global problem. ECC actually is bringing new opportunities, or at least it's leveraging the science that the American Heart Association in many other countries. What are the new opportunities? Well, investment in health. And that actually will resonate, I think, in ways that will not only help us to scale the $1 billion, but quite frankly, Jim, as a business guy, I think that we're going to be really on the runway towards $2 billion.
Yes, thank you. Well said, Ivor. I know on behalf of all of the staff and volunteers of the AHA, we are so grateful to both of you. I don't think until you've had the pleasure and the opportunity to be a staff liaison to the officers, I don't think that one really understands the level of commitment and engagement that the national chairman of the board and president have. And I know the two of you will be all in. Jim, we've seen that from you already, and Ivor, I've worked with you long enough to know you guys will be all in this year. I want to give each of you the last word. What message would you like to leave?
Well, as I think about the future, I see a situation where our national deficits get out of control. And that means there's going to be real pressure on spending on things like Medicare, on Medicaid, on science and research, the National Institutes of Health. And so I think the AHA needs to be bolder from an advocacy standpoint. We're going to be called on to do more, and we need to be bigger.
Yeah, I love that. Music to my ears. Ivor?
I think that when you really step into the space of the American Heart Association, there is a value that says, we know you, the science volunteer, is given of your time and your talent. How is it we can actually amplify what you do? And I would just like to support your leadership in really being able to drill down to every person. It's been a universally positive experience. And I think in order for us to get to $2 million, All boats are going to rise with a rising tide, and I want to just tip my hat to the staff as well.
Fantastic. We are grateful to you. We look forward to working towards that $2 billion, and you can count us as all in.